welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Thanks for joining me. I'll be your astrologer this week, and this is going to be the astro weather for the week of June 22nd through the 29th, 2025. Big news, the Sun-Jupiter conjunction taking place in the sign of Cancer. If you guys like my content, you want to see more of it, make sure you subscribe, click the button below. Also click the bell button so you're alerted as to when I have new videos. I'm here every Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Sunday trying to make sense of what's going on in the cosmos. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let me know what you're anticipating in terms of this lucky conjunction according to your ascendant, sun, or moon. I'd love to hear from you guys how this is manifesting for you. And boy, oh boy, well, you're going to hear a lot of astrologers on YouTube touting this as the luckiest day of the year, and rightfully so, I think, with some of the aspects. So I'm excited to dive into this week with you guys. We're going to see that Sun-Jupiter conjunction. The week actually kicks off today on Sunday, the 22nd, with a double yod. We've then got a new moon in Cancer and some spicy Leo transits that are going to be kind of setting up. So buckle up for a week of emotional expansion. Obviously, lots of fateful moments and opportunities to shine. Now, also, if you guys haven't seen it already, my Saturn Aries bootcamp is available. So over 2 hours, actually, of instruction and information about how to navigate this transit like a pro. I give you guys lots of tips and insight, as well as some cosmic to-do lists for the 12 rising signs. So if you guys are coming up on your Saturn return, if you have any personal planets that are in Aries, I highly recommend checking it out. It is on sale now to help you kind of come up with a game plan for this fiery transit. Click the links in my description below. Head over to my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. While you're there, please sign up for my newsletter so you're alerted as to when I have new courses or kind of deals going on. It'd be great to see you guys there. This Friday, I'm going to be doing live tarot, and that'll be at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Check out my community tab, and you will see the post for that particular live. So if you're going to come hang out on Friday and get your cards read, it'd be nice to see you there. We always have a great gang. And if you guys are active on socials, follow me at BTV Astro on X if you want to follow some of my Astro content and musings. But with that being said, let's dive into the weekly vibe. All right, so like I said, the Sun-Jupiter conjunction is really the star of the show. Likely for many of us, this is going to be amplifying optimism, and it's going to be bringing us some kind of opportunity when it comes to emotional growth. So if you happen to be a Cancer, a Sagittarius, or a Pisces, you guys are going to be the ones who I think are going to be feeling this the most. Possibly even Leo as well, because you guys are ruled by the sun. But honestly, everybody is invited to the Joy and Abundance party. This Sunday, we're going to see a double yod, so watch for that, because I feel like there are some things that are already kind of setting up that are really pointing to necessary change. We will also see Mercury hit 29 degrees, and that's going to be obviously a little intense, and then Mercury will slip into Leo, and by the end of this week, we're going to be in the Mercury retrograde shadow. So my advice to you guys is, if you do not want to get hit by the shadow, if you have any personal planets about 4 to 15, maybe 16 degrees of Leo, do your Mercury retrograde pre-shadow stuff now, okay? Sign the contracts, plan the trips, do whatever you guys have to do. Look at the Leo area of your chart. That's where there is going to be a retrograde. Should feel kind of familiar. This is where Mars was retrograde. It's actually going to start the retrograde right around the same degrees, making some of those beautiful oppositions to Pluto. And I think this is really urging us to really focus on making some big changes, and also kind of tuning into our inner, I guess, leader. It's going to be a lot about leadership. There's going to be a lot of drama. I'm working on a video for you guys on the Mercury retrograde, so I hope to have that out soon. So as a reminder, we're going to go through the whole week. You guys are going to see all of the dates in the description below, so you can check that out if you want to put it into your planners or anything like that. Or if you guys are interested, I do offer personal astrology transit calendars, which you can put right into your computer or your Apple Calendar. And it's just an easy way to have that for the year ahead. But you guys can find all of those there. And we're going to talk now about the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. I like to start off with talking to you guys about the Sabian Symbols. So the conjunction is going to be happening at 3 degrees of Cancer. So if you have anything, I would say 2, 3, 4 degrees of Cancer, it's going to be the most prominent for you. And we know that a conjunction is like the strongest aspect in astrology. This is when two planets kind of fuse together. And this particular conjunction between the sun and the sun and Jupiter happens every single year. However, Jupiter is exalted in Cancer, which means that it's got a little bit extra oomph. And we get this transit usually, depending on if the sun makes the conjunction, we're going to say every 12 years, but the last transit that we had of Jupiter in Cancer, the conjunction was in Gemini. So this one we have not had for closer to like 23, 24 years. That's assuming that we had one that long ago, but it's been a while. So I'm going to read you guys the Sabian symbol to give you a little context for 4 degrees of Cancer, because we round up. And this is a cat arguing with a mouse. So the theme here is savvy. The symbol speaks to the mindset and to planning or having a specific objective or purpose in view before concrete action. It also emphasizes the fact that preparing for an event is often more exciting and enjoyable than the event itself. The image of a cat arguing with a mouse depicts a setup or baiting and manipulation. Here, a cat is toying with a mouse in an attempt to evoke the response that will justify killing it. The image of this dramatizes the natural tendency of men to seek outer sanction or approval before acting on their inner desires, or their need to rationalize or find logical support for their values and behaviors. On a practical level, the symbol says, "I did this because." At its highest, the symbol represents psychological insight and a charismatic gift of persuasion. Watch for dissatisfaction, manipulation, and argumentativeness. The accent is on setting up or manipulating situations in order to produce a desired outcome. Clever attempts will win approval for some action and likely will be made today. Your greatest advantage lies in having a plan of action for achieving your goals. Make sure you have the support of others. Guard against being baited into an argument or a fight today. Don't play into someone else's hands by losing your temper. Stepping stones are harassment, being provoked, teasing, torment, baiting, badgering, and goading, and mindset, excuse, and justification. Okay. So my thought on the conjunction, even though it sounds like a little gnarly, is that I think it's kind of like it's reflecting this dynamic power, and it talks about like persuasion, and where obviously emotional intelligence, because it's in Cancer, meets the need to assert, influence, or navigate what can feel like tricky dynamics. So maybe the cat is going to represent like confidence and control, while the mouse kind of symbolizes vulnerability or maybe resourcefulness. Now at 4 degrees, it suggests that we need to use empathy and intuition to navigate challenges or advocate your needs. So it's going to be about finding balance and strength through sensitivity and not overpowering other people, but also don't shrink back either. So the symbol really encourages heartfelt communication to resolve any conflicts, to create what can feel like a win-win situation, what can feel like a win-win in a situation that can be a little combative. Now, what does this mean, I think, specifically in Cancer? Well, the sun represents our core identity. Out in the world in like mundane astrology, it can represent men, it can represent leaders, it can represent power. And it's in a feminine sign. So it's going to be about vitality and purpose when it comes to emotions, home, and family. While Jupiter is the planet of growth and luck and wisdom. So when they unite and they come together, it's putting a kind of like a spotlight on amplifying optimism, abundance, and opportunities. But it could also be playing into that Sabian symbol where, there can be this tendency to kind of want to like provoke other people or be provoked. So the conjunction in Cancer is a water sign, and this is ruled by the moon. So it's going to be supercharging emotional intelligence and really highlighting, nurturing our instincts, listening to our intuition, especially anything regarding like home or family matters. So we might be feeling like it's time to really expand our sense of security and connect deeply with loved ones and trust our intuition to kind of guide our bigger dreams. Now, it is at 3 degrees, so it is going to have this kind of Gemini influence, because if you follow degree theory, threes do have that connection to Gemini. So you'll see much more focus on positive communication. This is going to emphasize expressing yourself through maybe speaking, writing, teaching, maybe big announcements, sending out newsletters, kind of sharing big news. And individuals, because the sun is involved, might shine through intellectual pursuits or sharing knowledge. So it can be a day where you can really learn something. You can meet a teacher, a mentor, or you might just potentially get like a really good news through like a phone call or an email. Now, threes do deal with curiosity and also being more so versatile. So the conjunction can manifest as like a love for learning or exploring new ideas. new languages, or even engaging in multiple projects simultaneously. This is also a conjunction that can be more charismatic, especially in social settings. And so there can be a real knack for connecting with others through wit and humor or storytelling. Jupiter is known for, maintaining its humor and being able to kind of stay funny, being able to laugh at things, which I think is so incredibly important considering the square that we've been seeing over the last couple of days, which is still actually playing out between the Sun and Saturn and Neptune, Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune, which is starting to separate. So we have to really kind of keep our humor as we're moving through what can feel like some more serious, scary, heavy, or confusing times. But the theme overall you're going to see is duality. So whenever you see Gemini degrees, it's like, is it this or is it that? And we can see that we're kind of at a fork in the road, or there's two particular options. Maybe we're juggling multiple beliefs or identities, and sometimes we can feel a little bit more scattered when that energy comes through. And I do think that this is going to magnify themes revolving around media and communications, especially considering when we see the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. Ironically, the moon is going to be in Gemini, and it'll square the north and the south node. So it is going to be bringing up through media outlets the themes of safety, security, home, property, things revolving around homeland security. And there can be some distortion and manipulation with the square to the north and south node, as well as that kind of ongoing square to Saturn and Neptune. So don't let other people bait you into getting scared. Don't let other people bait you into getting angry or getting hostile or justifying that you're reacting in a certain way. Pump the brakes a little bit. Know that a lot of communication is going to be inflated, and kind of keep an open mind, because this is a great week to really, notice that there's going to be more of like a quest for knowledge. Now, it's so significant in Cancer, I think, for a number of reasons. One is that obviously Jupiter is in its exaltation, but it will magnify emotions, okay? So the positive is that it's a prime time for like heartfelt growth and maybe healing ancestral patterns, building a foundation for abundance and emotional security, tapping into our intuition, because obviously Cancer is ruled by the moon, so it can be about using our intuition to navigate where we need to be more protective while simultaneously be creating fertile ground for emotional and material prosperity. But once again, with some of the squares that are still fading to Saturn and Neptune and Aries, it's going to warn against overly idealizing or neglecting our practical boundaries. So we have to stay anchored while we're dreaming big. Collectively, I think that this can bring about a period of a couple days where there's more of an emotional awakening. The collective, will feel a surge of compassion and a desire for connection, with focus on home, family, and community in particular, or just feeling safe in general in their homeland, in their homes, in their cities, and anything revolving around kind of governance and guidance because of those squares to Saturn and Neptune. There can be more themes on global nurturing as well. So we can see movements revolving around housing, food security, and environmental care that may gain traction. But also, I think this is about healing roots. Ancestral or cultural healing becomes very prominent now, and people will be like reconnecting to their heritage. There can also be this sense of really focusing on growth and abundance within the family or home. So I keep telling everybody, every time we have the Jupiter and Cancer transit, there's usually like a baby boom. And I think we will see that this year and next year, because next year Jupiter goes into Leo. So there could be a lot of people who are announcing pregnancies, planning pregnancies, expanding their home, talking about having grandchildren, or, just welcoming new people into their home or their families. But I think overall, that square to Saturn and Neptune is kind of saying that there is opportunity for growth, but Saturn and Neptune is dictating and determining just exactly how we grow, and if we have the right to feel safe and secure, if we have the right to feel abundant or even happy. And Saturn will kind of temper Jupiter's tendency to have more exuberance. So this will be urging us to take realistic steps forward when it comes to achieving our big home or family goals. You can doubt yourself a little bit with the Saturn-Neptune transit, but it's important to just kind of move through this week and stay optimistic. Now, personally, I think that, I think we're going to see that intuition is going to be a very big theme. So you'll see opportunities to really tune into your gut, which could lead to lucky breaks in personal or professional pursuits. You're also going to watch for overindulging, okay? We can overindulge when we see conjunctions with Jupiter. So whether this is emotional spending or just overextending ourselves to please other people, that's something else that we're going to want to watch for. To make the most of this, I really recommend setting intentions. So interestingly, we're going to have the Sun-Jupiter conjunction right before we come into the new moon in Cancer. So I kind of see that as like there is something new that's coming in, but we have to kind of phase something out, or we have to shift our frame of mind. So to make the most of it, use the conjunction day or the new moon, which is going to be on the 25th, to plant seeds for emotional and material security. Write them down. It's going to be at a 3. What you write down, what you speak into existence is what is going to vibrate, and you have to feel your way into it emotionally. So you have to say it and you have to feel it at the same time. Speak confidently, right? Obviously be optimistic, but also nurture yourself and practice self-care techniques this week. So think like cozy nights in, journaling, maybe cooking a comforting meal, and connect deeply with other people. So reach out to loved ones or community to strengthen your support networks. Ground your dreams in reality to balance out those squares to Saturn and Neptune, and make a plan for your big ideas. Remember, Jupiter's going to be in this sign all year. So for me, it's really what we're doing over the next 12 months, what's going to be expanding. A lot of us are going to see some of that expansion quite literally in the fall of 2025 when Jupiter is in a trine with Saturn and Neptune, which will be back in Pisces. And in 6 months' time, when we get to the beginning of 2026, when we have the full moon in Cancer, that's also going to be a time to kind of see how some of this stuff is manifesting. Give it a little bit of time. Also be willing to put in the work, because this particular conjunction is going to sextile Mars in Virgo. So we need to have a plan. We need to be executing that plan, staying the path, being on time, being committed, and doing the work. So if you guys stay tuned to the end of the video, I'll be showing all of you guys where the Sun-Jupiter conjunction is taking place for the 12 rising signs, how to make the most of this lucky transit, and what to expect. Now we're going to start with today, June the 22nd, 2025, Sunday. So happy Sunday to my Astro crew. I hope you guys are doing well, all my Sunday people. Today is an interesting day. So it kind of started last night with the moon conjunction to Venus. So love has kind of like been in the air. Hopefully you guys had like a lovely Saturday night, and maybe that's kind of leading into Sunday morning. But that moon is still in Taurus, and with Venus being in its home sign, there is still this sweet, rich kind of abundance energy that's hanging out this morning. So I could see a lot of people cooking some fancy breakfasts, really enjoying, brunch, spending time with the family, communicating and connecting a lot with also some of the sextiles that we're going to see to Mercury. The moon will also be making a sextile to the north node in Pisces and a trine to the south node in Virgo. So this is a lot about indulgence, pleasure, money, things that taste good, feel good, smell good, so there could be a lot of just kind of taking your time and having ease this morning. Later in the day, we will see the moon coming into conjunction with Uranus at 29 degrees. So that's going to be tonight, Sunday p.m. And then we will see the moon enter into Gemini, and it will trine Pluto overnight. So for the most part, the morning is actually pretty sweet. I like it. I enjoy the moon-Venus conjunction. I like the communication aspect between the moon and Mercury. So it's looking pretty good until about the early afternoon hours. And then as we're getting closer to the evening, I'm Central Time, so it's going to start up right around like 7 p.m. The moon is going to start coming into conjunction with Uranus, which creates a little bit of like emotional disturbance. I think really, when I look at the transits, the Sun square Saturn might be kind of overshadowing some of the day as well, where we're going to feel maybe some delays or some setbacks, or that there is some like heaviness, which is kind of a bummer because obviously it's getting closer to Jupiter. But therein lies some of the themes of the squares between Aries and Cancer, is just like, are you going to get, hard down and hard on yourself? Are you going to get agitated, frustrated? Are you going to get mad? Or are you going to do something about it? And are you going to look at the emotions as like a motivator for change? Okay, that's how I'm trying to look at it. So Sun square Saturn in Aries, we will also see Mars, which will inconjunct or quincunx Pluto. So this is the yod that I was talking about. This is one of them, where Mars is the focal point. And then we have the other focal point where Jupiter and Mars sextile each other, and then they point towards Pluto. So there's some big stuff going on today. I spoke about this last week in last week's video as well. We will also see, like I said, later in the day that there is going to be that conjunction between the moon and Uranus. I don't know. I feel like Pluto wants major change and transformation. Ironically, it's at a 3, how we think, communicate, and connect. And then we're also going to see Mars as the focal point at a 3, and that's going to be about what actions we take and like what's happening when it comes to our health, our daily routine. Mars is also military, anything kind of connected to military mobilizations and that type of stuff as well. So I don't know, quite literally, archetypally, the Sun Jupiter could represent like a religious leader, right? And then the square to Saturn and Neptune could represent some kind of conflict or loss of power or delay or setback that could be happening for somebody. So we've got like leaders going through some tension or some conflict revolving around, their beliefs versus their, responsibilities and obligations when it comes to like leadership, and whether or not there is going to be the sense of overreacting to some of the global events. So in a nutshell, Sunday, it feels kind of faded. It's a very intense start to the week with those yods. The yods are really pushing for transformation through precise action, right? Mars in Virgo is one of the focal points, and collective shifts, Pluto and Aquarius, both at a 3, the same degree that we're going to see the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in. Sun square Saturn feels like a reality check. So there is focus on discipline, to navigate emotional tension. So maybe some of us feel that, ooh, I'm overdoing it vibe coming in, especially with the moon in Taurus. And we're like, nope, I'm going to stick to the plan. I'm going to be committed. I'm going to see everything through. I'm going to stay on time. I'm going to hold myself accountable. And yeah, it may steal some of the moon Venus stuff that's happening early in the morning, but certainly as we get later into the day, some of the astrology gets a little bit more intense. So if you're a bit of a night owl, Sunday can feel like there is a little bit of like some emotional turbulence, or there could be some shocking or surprising things happening with, planets at 29 degrees. It can mean this is in regards to banking, finance, certainly like futures and things that are kind of going on with the market going into Monday, the 23rd. So let's take this to Monday now. And in the morning when we wake up, the moon is now in Gemini. So very early in the morning, the moon was moving into Gemini and it was trining Pluto. So it's going to be very powerful for communication first thing in the morning on Monday. Now, Mercury is still in a slight sextile to Uranus, and it's also in a slight trine to the North Node. So believe it or not, I feel like communication can be really great first thing Monday morning. Trines to Pluto is great for team meetings, connecting with friends, stuff like that. Moon sextile Saturn and Neptune is good for really kind of getting down to details and staying committed to what your professional goals are. And by the time we're getting to like the early morning when most people are waking up, the moon is coming out of a square with Mars. Now, if you happen to be in another time zone, I know we have people all over the world, or if you happen to be like even on the East Coast, just know that early in the morning, the moon will square Mars. So it does create a little bit of tension, but I think that for the most part, the communication aspects are pretty good. Remember that Mercury is the dispositor of the moon, so it's in a lunar sign. So we've got some mutual reception here between the two. That's like, hi, we can focus on, information and facts and data, but we're also taking into consideration intuition, emotions, the past. So it's saying we have to connect emotions and logic, which is not always something that's like easy to do. We're going to be in a dark moon phase. So we're preparing for what's going to be the new moon in Cancer, which is not going to be rolling through here until closer to the 25th. So people get a little crabby usually when we're in this phase because things are breaking down. Other than that, there's no real major additional transits that are going to be taking place on Monday. So for the most part, the Gemini moon is going to be really sparking communication and curiosity. Maybe the square to Mars very early in the morning brings some kind of mental friction or feeling kind of impatient. Use the dark moon phase to really reflect and release what you're getting ready to start fresh in when it comes to the new moon in Cancer. So if we watch the day, not much is happening. The moon's pretty unaspected for the most part. Okay, and that's pretty much all day. So you want to get your communication in early, and then I wouldn't expect too much else happening for the rest of the day. All right, so this is going to take us now to the 24th, which is going to be Tuesday, and the moon is still in Gemini, and this is the day that we're going to see the sun conjunct Jupiter. So something that I was kind of focusing on is I was like, all right, the moon rules the sun and Jupiter. It's at a 3. It's got that Gemini vibe. And then look at where the moon is. The moon is square the north and the south node. Off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, I think that's going to be particularly close to some of the Gemini planets in the United States, seventh house. So it can be dues revolving around communication and allies and who we're supporting or not supporting. And the moon, when it squares the north and the south node, we know that like fateful things happen. This is generally a day where there is something kind of karmic that's going down, or there is some kind of change that's happening collectively. The change is going to be from Gemini things, communications, news, media. And obviously there is like this, two-sidedness to Gemini. So when it squares, it's going to actually be at 21 degrees, which is a Sagittarius degree. So that's going to be about information, communications, revolving around international themes, international travel, international relations. It could also be about education or things revolving around legal matters, lawsuits. The square to the north and south node means that there's changing circumstances that are going to be happening. And mutable squares can be a little messy. I think that they do manage change better than some of the other squares, but still it's like there is something that breaks down in terms of a narrative, right? Especially a story that we have been told or a story that we have always believed, 21. Now, this is a big day in its own right because this is the day that the Sun and Jupiter conjunct, and that looks like that's going to be happening kind of late morning, at least for Central Time Zone. And this is the day where you're going to see opportunities for luck or optimism or some kind of an emotional expansion. The Gemini square does make me feel like there are going to be fateful decisions kind of tied to how we communicate, how we kind of receive this information. And then we're going to be seeing that the moon is going to come out of the square, and later in the day it's going to shift into Cancer, but we're still in that dark moon phase. Now, something else to kind of consider is that we will see that sextile Chiron and Aries. So the moon is also going to come into a sextile with Chiron. So it's going to be about communicating and expressing our vulnerabilities and our wounding issues, or, kind of feeling like we need to be heard, or talking about our feelings, or where we have felt kind of left out or rejected in some way. I would just say, like, trust your instincts. And around the time that the moon is moving into Cancer, we are going to be, I think, aware. We're going to have some new piece of information or some new belief or sense of awareness about the intentions that we are then going to set under the new moon in Cancer. So for me, I'm like, yeah, the Sun conjunct Jupiter is a good day, but it's going to be more about information, things that we learn, conversations we have, contracts or communications we initiate. And then we get into the 25th, which will be obviously Wednesday, where we have the new moon. Now, the new moon is going to be very, very early in the morning, okay? It's going to be somewhere around that like 4:30-ish a.m. Central Time. So it's going to be, 2 hours earlier, around 2:30 on the Pacific Coast. It's going to be probably closer to around 5:30-ish on the East Coast. You can set your new moon intentions if you want. You can do that on Tuesday night, or you can do it first thing in the morning on Wednesday. But personally, I would advise you guys to do this on Wednesday after the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, because I'd like to see the moon come into conjunction with Jupiter right before the new moon. So this will be very early on the 25th. Now, the new moon obviously is about planting new seeds. If you guys haven't seen that video, check it out. I put it out already on my channel. And the moon has to hit Jupiter before it comes into conjunction with the sun. So the new moon's actually going to be at a 4. Jupiter will be conjunct. I think it's one of the best new moons all year. The only thing that we're still kind of grappling with is before we come into this new beginning and this new opportunity, the moon still has to square Saturn. So there is still a sense of being like, okay, am I limiting myself? Am I taking responsibility? Am I taking action? Am I holding myself accountable? And then it's also going to square Neptune, which is going to be a lot of like, what emotions are coming up about making this particular change. But I feel like the new moon in Cancer is definitely going to have a little bit more oomph just because of the placement of Jupiter and some of the aspects that we have to Mars, which is saying kind of come up with a plan, get active. So on Wednesday morning, we have that new moon. Most of us will be asleep, depending on what time zone you're in, when the moon squares Saturn and Neptune, but we wake up to the new moon on Wednesday morning. So I feel like this is a very powerful reset. This is also good for emotional goals, setting intentions when it comes to your home, when it comes to security. Yes, the square is going to demand kind of balancing out our dreams with reality, but the sextile to Mars is really supporting practical action to make some of these things happen. So, Mars in Virgo loves to have a to-do list, and Cancer quite literally just generally represents like home and family. So this is a time where if you want to sit down with your family and you want to start scheduling, okay, where are we going to be going over the summer? What days are we planning on going and doing things? How can we clean out the garage? How can we better organize the house? Quite literally, this is out of 4 too. I love, for those of you guys who want to have a garage sale this summer, for those of you guys who want to kind of clean your closets and your bedrooms and your kitchens out, for those of you guys who want to get more active with your family, or you want to commit to like a summer fitness program, or you want to be working out with, friends or relatives, or maybe you want to create a home office or a home gym, anything revolving around cleaning and organizing your home and taking action, and the impact that that's going to have on you feeling more productive and also, I think, better emotionally is the answer. So rather than kind of sitting in the cosmic soup of Saturn and Neptune, that's like, where do I go? What do I do? The square is saying your emotions are trying to tell you, start at home and, take the necessary steps forward to emotionally and quite literally physically start getting things in order. So for some of you guys, it's going to feel like spring cleaning, in the middle of what's summer. All right, so if we watch the transits throughout the day, the new moon will be in the morning, and then you're going to see, as we go through the day, the moon's going to keep moving. Not much else is really going to happen. It does look like Mercury is going to hit 29 degrees in the evening, so we will see that sextile kind of the late PM hours on the 25th to Uranus and Taurus. And you might just notice that your intuition is picking up a little bit, especially when it comes to physical financial changes with resources, self-esteem, banking, and also just taking stock of what you have in your home or what you need. Remember, Mercury is tied to the South Node, so there can be this sense that's like, okay, you know what, do we really need X amount of, these shoes or this particular, product, or, is it possible for us to sell something or get something out? And possibly some really significant news for some people when it comes to real estate, property, housing. So buying, selling, signing contracts, that kind of stuff seems to be really prominent. Definitive changes happen when we see planets at like 29 degrees. So where is the moon at this time? Well, the moon is still in Cancer. So it's basically saying we're really positive about some of the physical changes, some of the home changes, some of the reorganization and things that are kind of, taking place. So that'll take us into Thursday, the 26th. And overnight, the moon's going to keep moving through Cancer. We wake up first thing in the morning, and moon is not really doing too much. You will see a trine to the North Node in Pisces, and you will see a sextile to the South Node in Virgo. So the moon's working positively with the direction of where we're going intuitively, feeling into things, being compassionate, creative, and kind of tuned in, while simultaneously decluttering, getting rid of stuff, being less critical, being more in tune to healthier habits, that kind of stuff. So on the 26th, the big transits will be the aspects that you're going to see to the nodes. Also, you're going to see the moon now come into a sextile with Venus in Taurus, which is a nice aspect, actually. Both planets are in their home sign. So this gives me the vibes, especially on Thursday, that, it's a more flowy, intuitive day, at least the first half of the day. That Cancer moon is harmonizing also with Venus in the North Node, so it's fostering opportunity for love, for soulful connections, focusing on finances and resources. However, Mercury is going to shift into Leo, so it's going to be a pretty bold, dynamic shift in communication. It's going to be more creative. It's also going to be more focused on romance and self-expression, and it's an interesting one. So you guys are going to feel kind of floaty until Mercury goes into Leo. And that's going to happen later in the day, right around 4:00 p.m. Central Time. So when that happens, now we're playing off of the sun when it comes to Mercury, and Mercury conjunct Jupiter. This might be the day that you're like, okay, we had the Sun-Jupiter conjunction, didn't see the positivity of the optimism, saw the new moon, didn't see the positivity and the optimism, and then boom, on the 26th, it's going to be like, oh, it's here. Now I see it. Now I feel it, especially with the sun being at a 5. I also feel like, with Uranus being at that critical degree, and it's going to be there for, a couple days. We're not going to see Uranus go into Gemini until July. Guys, major earth events, major financial swings, major changes with banking, with institutions, earthquakes, eruptions, all kinds of things like that can still happen while Uranus is at that critical degree. Granted, it's much more likely to get triggered when you see a square, but just kind of keep that in mind, that that is kind of hanging around in the background pretty much all week. All right, so moving forward to Friday. So we watch that moon keep going. And the sun is also still in a sextile to Mars. So there's a lot of get up and go energy Wednesday, Thursday. So overnight going into the 27th, which will be Friday, the moon will move into Leo. And what's interesting is that the moon's going to hit Mercury overnight. So there could be some communication, some things that are going on with leaders and leadership overnight. Same degrees where we had the Mars retrograde, and Mercury's going to retrograde through there as well. And I feel like this might mean that there's going to be some big announcements or things that are kind of coming early in the morning when it comes to leaders, or that there's going to be some media or news talking about people who might be making some big announcements. And that moon will conjunct Mercury, and then it will oppose Pluto. We actually wake up on Saturday morning to the moon in Leo in opposition to Pluto. Pay attention, guys, because some of the stuff that's happening now is likely going to be kind of like reassessed or reworked or keep coming back up or whatever during the Mercury retrograde next month. Leo deals with leaders, celebrities, stars, creatives, performers, all of that stuff. And with that Sun-Jupiter conjunction coming out of a square with Saturn and Neptune, it makes me feel like there's like a leader that's going through a period of being like, I need to take a step back and really determine or come up with a plan of action. And I'm not going to be talking about it. I need to think about it, and then I'll come back. And maybe somebody's going to say that they have some kind of answer or response and how they're dealing with some of the intensity in the world or some of these potential power struggles. I mean, Pluto in Aquarius literally is about nuclear crisis. Pluto is, anything kind of connected to things that could be deadly. Aquarius is associated with things that kind of go boom. And so much of the July into August Mercury retrograde is going to be about, I think, negotiations with leaders revolving around nuclear power. Many charts are going to get triggered. The Israel chart is going to get lit up like a Christmas tree. Donald Trump's chart is getting lit up like a Christmas tree. J.D. Vance's chart's getting lit up like a Christmas tree. Who else? Zelensky, he's got planets at the very first degrees of Leo and also the very first degrees of Aquarius. So even though the retrograde won't happen until mid-July, some of the effects are going to start happening now. And Leo is where we get very bold and kind of boastful, and we can sometimes be a little arrogant, and we can be a little overly confident with the Sun conjunct Jupiter. So we might see some of these people kind of start like popping off. And what individuals or leaders want versus what is actually best for the population is two different things, right? So these are going to be some of the main characters. I'm kind of working on a video about that right now for the Mercury retrograde, so stay tuned. But basically, in a nutshell, on the 27th, you'll see those oppositions early in the morning, which is going to make emotions a little tense, communication a little tense. However, the moon is making some nice aspects outside of the opposition. Now, the moon and Mercury are trining Saturn in Aries, okay, which can lead us to be more confident, to be a little bit more reserved, to really pace ourselves, to be mature. And also it's going to trine Neptune. So looking at those two aspects that we're going to be seeing, it makes me feel like it's going to support, obviously, in the midst of the Pluto oppositions, which is going to stir power struggles and deep transformation. Those trines of Saturn and Neptune is going to be about inspired, discipline, creativity. When the world gets loud during these transits on Friday, Saturday, get creative, right? Go and do a hobby, paint, dance, create, do something, listen to music, like raise your vibration. Don't get sucked into the trauma drama with some of the oppositions that you're going to see with Pluto. I think that is the lesson, and really stay heart-centered if you guys can. Now, the moon's going to continue to go through Leo. It's going to have some of the best aspects in terms of the trines first thing in the morning, and then it's going to keep moving. So then you're going to see the moon continue to go through Leo. Relatively, unexpected. Some of the only aspects are going to be in the morning. So it's going to be a quieter Saturday night, but still, moon's no longer opposed Pluto. It's kind of gotten away from the Mercury conjunction where maybe communication was very important first thing on Friday morning. And now it's like, well, what do we do when the moon's in Leo, right? We go out, we dance, we have a good time, we create, we go on dates, we do things. So considering that the sun is so close to Jupiter, Friday night's definitely a good night to be going out and mixing and mingling with other people if that's something that you guys would like to do. Now, this is going to take us into what will be Saturday. So we wake up on Saturday the 28th. Moon is still in Leo. We see a little friction on this day because the moon is going to come into a square with Venus and Taurus. And it's also going to come into a square with Uranus and Taurus. So those two things are going to create some bumps in the road. And also Mercury is approaching its opposition to Pluto, which thankfully it's only going to happen, I believe, one time because Mercury will retrograde to about 4 degrees in August. So Mercury-Pluto oppositions are very difficult for communication. With Mercury being tied to the South Node, we can be much more critical of friends, lovers, romantic partners. We could also find it much more difficult to communicate schedules. We might feel like we're having a difficult time maybe with our love lives or, trying to stay on task with creative projects. I think that there's no real other major aspects other than the square to Venus, which is going to definitely spark some tension. So let me show you guys that. So that's going to happen kind of in the later afternoon, early evening, Moon square Venus. And then you're also going to be seeing, in the midst of that, it can be bringing up some tension in relationships, the need to kind of take risks or overly indulge. I would just say stay mindful as Mercury is coming into its opposition point. This will intensify Saturday into Sunday communication. So choose words wisely to avoid conflicts. That's my advice. Because, words can definitely create a lot of problems throughout the next month, especially when it comes to personal versus group dynamics. So the fifth house is what you create, what you feel, what you think, what you say. And other people are going to, definitely nitpick it or pick it apart or be more critical. And if people are feeling like they're more bold and kind of standing up for themselves, other people are going to get very, very critical and very reactionary to things that are being said. Okay. That factored in with Moon square Venus, Moon square Uranus. Not my favorite day, Saturday. I think that this could be a time where there could definitely be some friction, either in terms of romantic relationships with younger people, financial challenges, certainly Moon square Venus, not really feeling like we're getting that sweet spot hit. And then the moon is going to keep going and it's going to come into a square with Uranus. So that's not going to happen until kind of going into Sunday. It looks like the moon will hit 29 degrees and start squaring Uranus Sunday, June 29th, which is going to be very early in the morning, okay? So if you're an early riser, this is something that you're going to feel. And, fifth house is taking chances, creativity, romance, but it's also the stock market, things kind of connected to gambling, things kind of connected to risk. So I'm looking at the moon squaring Uranus, both at 29. This is Venus getting close to Uranus. This is also highlighting, still the sun, which is conjunct Jupiter, where we can have some people that are still hopelessly and gloriously kind of optimistic about things. And really, those are the only transits you're going to see. However, on Sunday, Mercury will hit 4 degrees. So when Mercury hits 4 degrees, guess what? Come Sunday, we are in the Mercury retrograde shadow. This is the degree which Mercury will retrograde back to, which will be taking place in August. So my advice is get your shift in order. Ideally, do it before we get to Sunday. The best day for you guys to do some of this stuff is going to be when Mercury is trine Saturn and Neptune. And I'm of two frames of mind about Mercury retrograde, okay? If it's going to hit personal planets in your chart, so if you've got anything from that, like I would say 3 to 15 degrees of Leo, it's going to impact you. So it might actually be beneficial for you guys to wait, take note of where Mercury is going to retrograde, what's going to be changing for you, but to actually go through the retrograde process, because throughout the Mercury retrograde, yes, it's going to retrograde at a critical degree right around the 15 degree point of Leo, but it's going to start coming back into a trine with Saturn and Neptune slightly. So that means that the more that we're in alignment with our vision, our commitments, our needs, our goals, and our boundaries, the more that we can be more heart-centered, we can have more fulfillment, more joy, more creativity, and also better romance. So it can be good to go through the retrograde period. However, if you're like, I don't want to deal with that Mercury retrograde BS and the opposition of Pluto, get your stuff done in order before Sunday. So you have to look at which house Leo is in. That's where you're going to experience the retrograde. Mercury represents communications, contracts, travel, cars, gadgets. So that means if you have to book anything in terms of travel, if you need to sign a contract, if you need to, buy a car. If there's anything like that that you need to do, ideally you're doing this before Sunday. Back up your hard drives, all of that stuff, so that way you're not kind of getting hit. Mercury is also about information and data, okay? And it's not unusual when we see Mercury in opposition to Pluto that we have internet issues. We see in some parts of the world, internet goes out or it goes dark. We see data breaches. We see also there could be, systems that could get hacked or could get hit, specifically connected to health, transportation, right? I'm just kind of thinking because the South Node is in Virgo. So Mercury retrogrades pack a bit of a punch now with the South Node here. And the South Node in Virgo is like systems breaking down, not being able to have access to stuff. I saw somebody was posting something about how some major Whole Foods or whatever, I think it was in Montana, claimed that a lot of their shelves were bare. They didn't have a lot of stuff because they claimed that their system got hacked into and it affected distribution and like actual deliveries. So literally Virgo can be health, it could be food, it could be anything connected to social, local transportation even. So I'm anticipating we're going to hear some stuff about hacks and stuff that's affecting these kinds of things. And I think there was just like a major hack. I don't know if you guys heard about it, but there was like a major hack that was tied to like all saved passwords that was like across all boards. I think it was like Apple, Google, all of that stuff. So I'm wondering, are we going to hear more about that and how this is like impacting individuals' ability to connect? I don't know. I'm just kind of anticipating that there might be something there. Anyway, on the 29th, no real other major aspects. So just be ready for that. Obviously the vibe on Sunday is like, wow, it's been a bit of like a restless week. The moon, Uranus square right off the bat can bring sudden surprises or feelings of kind of just being a little irritable. But as we get later into the day on the 29th, you're going to see that the moon is actually going to shift into Virgo. So let me show you guys that. So that's going to happen in the morning. So actually, I take that back. It's going to be at 6 a.m. So you're going to see the square, and then boom, first thing in the morning, moon moves into Virgo. So, for me, when the moon's in Virgo, you want to get organized. You want to be focused on productivity. And we're going to see the Mercury-Pluto opposition pretty strongly. I'm going to double down on what I just said. Likely, there is going to be something that's going to happen in terms of communications on Sunday. And it might mean that people are having issues with, hey, you know what, I can't log into my, work computer, or hey, you know what, turns out there's a change of plans, or there's going to be some kind of shift that's going to be happening with travel, something like that. Because Moon Mars is going to be pushing us to act instinctively. Good thing is that even in spite of the difficult communication on Sunday, we are going to see the moon and Mars be about jumping into action. And you're going to see the moon sextile Jupiter, which is going to provide optimism and organization. You're going to see the moon conjunct Mars, which can make people a little irritable on Sunday night. I would say, people are going to be reacting very strongly to something and needing something fixed or needing something taken care of. Like Moon Mars in Virgo was like, can you hurry up, get over here? Can you fix this? It's not working. Like something's breaking down. And this is how the Mercury retrograde shadow is going to begin. So this is why I think that there actually is going to be something that's going to kind of happen. I wonder, is it going to be like a hack somehow kind of connected to like, government, institution, military, bases, something like that. As much as I hate to say that, it's very possible. So especially with, the moon going through the inconjunct or the quincunx to Saturn and Neptune, there's going to be some kind of issue there with people being able to have access to something and feeling like something is kind of breaking down. Once again, still activating, and kind of highlighting that yod that we saw at the beginning of the week on Sunday to Pluto and Aquarius, where the collective is about to go through some like major change, right? You got to be careful with Moon Mars transits. People get irritable, they speed, they can be a little bit more kind of hasty and like, hot-headed. And people who are more willing to kind of get like nasty. Like a lot of people are not going to be so friendly or kind to people in the service industry. So bartenders, people who are serving food, people who are of service of some kind, you're going to hear that there's going to be just people who are going to be in a mood. So if you're somebody who's in like the hospitality business, just keep in mind people aren't going to be so friendly on Sunday. So just smile, move through it the best that you can, try to kind of maintain your composure. And be careful with anything that's heat, speed, or in terms of like things that are sharp, Moon Mars, okay? I do think that at a 7, it can mean that like people are having some conflicts and some quarrels in relationships. And, Leo represents the romance, the desire, the drama that comes through dating and relationships. And this is technically, 12 houses to Libra. So it can really represent in a million different ways. People are irritable, they're agitated, they're a little bit more short-tempered, they're a little bit more critical, and then it's setting up for conflicts and fights in relationships, which a lot of people will have during the Mercury retrograde anyway. That's going to happen the same week also that, Venus is kind of approaching the conjunction to Uranus. So we're going to see some things are going to be changing in relationship dynamics. All right, guys, that is the week in a nutshell. Let's talk about the positive stuff. Let's talk about the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. Let's see how this is going to manifest for my 12 rising signs. As a reminder, I'm a Western astrologer, so I like to focus on what's going on with the Western signs. To make the most of my predictions, you're going to want to listen to your rising sign first, because this is going to tell you exactly which house the Sun-Jupiter conjunction is taking place in. That's going to be important because it's going to be talking a lot about which area of your life you're going to see this little kind of glow up taking place, okay? Listen to your rising sign first, and then listen to your sun and your moon sign. They all apply. I would definitely, considering the sun and the moon are going to be in conjunction to Jupiter, I would listen to all three. I think the rising sign will probably be the most accurate, but you'll probably get a lot of really good information out of the sun and the moon sign predictions as well. If you're a Placidus user like me, you're going to need to look at where 3 degrees of Cancer is in your chart. So it might be in a different house. You might have to listen to a different rising sign. So take that into consideration. And it'll be at 3 degrees. So anybody 2, 3, 4 degrees of Cancer, sun, moon, rising, or personal planet, you guys are going to be feeling the effects of this conjunction. And my Cancers, my Sagittarius, my Pisces risings, and my Leo risings, you guys are going to feel that the most. But like I said, everybody gets invited to the party. So let's start first with my Aries and my Aries risings. You guys are going to be having the conjunction between the sun and Jupiter taking place in your natal 4th house of home and family. Okay, so it's in the area of your home, your family, your roots. Now, the sun is connected to your 5th house, okay, and it rules things like creativity and romance, while Jupiter is connected to your 9th house of expansion and beliefs. So we have to kind of throw that all together in the melting pot of the conjunction in the 4th house. And I would say what to expect is going to be some kind of burst of optimism around your home and your family. So you may redecorate, you might be moving, you might deepen emotional bonds. There might be people coming to visit you from home. And I predict that it's possible there could be like a family reunion or like a home project that brings you some kind of joy. And watch for creative pursuits tied to your roots, to flourish. And I think to enhance your luck, what I would recommend that you guys do is host a gathering, okay? So journal about your heritage, set intentions for, new home blessings, clean and protect your home, whatever you have to do. But that is setting the stage for some kind of growth when it comes to your emotions, your home, and your private life and your family, okay? Good luck, Aries. Let me know how that manifests for you. We've got Taurus and Taurus rising. You guys are going to be experiencing the Sun-Jupiter conjunction taking place in the sign of Cancer, and that'll be in your natal 3rd house. Now, Taurus, the 3rd house is all about communication, learning, community. It's also about vehicles, siblings, and short-distance trips. The Sun rules your 4th house of home and family, while Jupiter rules the 8th house of transformation and shared resources. So what to expect with Sun-Jupiter conjunction in the 3rd? Most likely big ideas, heartfelt conversations that'll spark connections. Siblings or neighbors may bring opportunities. I predict for you guys that a message or a local project can really expand your influence, and emotional talks lead to big breakthroughs. To enhance your luck with this transit, I would recommend sharing your story, taking a short trip, or learning something about your roots. Great time to start working on a website, great time to start working on social media. If you want to start writing something or learning something. This is about changes and transformation in how you share with other people. Okay, spend time with your siblings. Consider going on a trip. Some of you guys might get a new car soon. Good luck. All right, we've got Gemini and Gemini rising. What's up, Gems? You guys are going to do the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer in your natal 2nd house. Now, for you guys, this is all about finances, resources, self-worth, self-esteem, and anything revolving around your spending power. So this is a big money manifestational transit for you. The sun rules the third house, which is governing over communication, and Jupiter rules the seventh house, which is connected to relationships and partnerships. So putting it all together in the conjunction in your second house, I would expect a financial boost or a newfound kind of confidence in your worth. Partnerships may bring resources. This can be an important time where you're having conversations with partners that are really beneficial about money, expenses, and spending. You could sign a contract with somebody that could bring you a very lucrative deal. And there's a lot of just speaking more positively about yourself as well as your resources, and then seeing that kind of grow over the next 12 months. I think to really make the most of this transit, I would say, first of all, expect there could be a raise, there could be a gift, there could be an investment opportunity that arises. And I would say just negotiate. And to make the most of this and enhance your luck, I would say budget for abundance, affirm your worth, and collaborate with a trusted partner to help build on your emotional and financial security. Good luck, Gemini. All right, Cancer and Cancer risings. Obviously, this is taking place in your chart. I just have to say this because I do see the comments in the comment section. Guys, I love you. I've seen all the comments recently. I know a lot of you guys are really agitated and you're like, what the heck is going on? This was supposed to be our year. I understand. Part of what has happened for the last several weeks is that we have seen squares that have been setting up between Jupiter and Saturn and Neptune and Aries. In particular, the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's been gnarly. So right out the gate, off the bat, the optimism feels kind of like diminished, right? It feels like, well, people are holding you back, or your job's really difficult, or it's really hard, or there's this responsibility for a parent, or dealing with a boss, or you're like, nothing is working. And Saturn rules your relationships, it rules change, and then Neptune rules your optimism. So because you have Saturn and Neptune at the top part of your chart right now, you're feeling hammered and less likely to be optimistic. I promise you guys, this is going to change, okay? Now we're moving out of it in this next week, and you're going to see as planets start to separate from the square with Saturn and Neptune, by the time you get into the fall, when you start seeing Saturn and Neptune back in Pisces trining Jupiter, right around the time of the eclipses, you guys are going to be feeling a lot better. But you cannot go into this transit being super negative and being like, oh, everything's like crap and nothing's going to work and this is terrible for us, because if that's the energy and the vibration that you carry, okay? And it doesn't matter, because Saturn could be your astrologer, and I don't take any of this personally. I've been through these transits, so I know how it goes. But literally, Saturn could be your astrologer, Saturn could be your therapist, it could be your spouse. People who are trying to say to you, like, this is how it's going to be, life's tough, get a helmet, very Saturn Neptune in your 10th. It does make you feel crabby and less likely to be optimistic, and you're going to go, this is hard work. Please use this next week with the new moon, and also, I think, with the Jupiter-Sun transit, to look at things differently. To look at life as, I have a lot of work, it's bogging down on me, and I have responsibilities, I have bills to pay, I have, family to take care of, I've got a partner that's, I got to take care of. But also the Jupiter square is, the things you're complaining about are things that people are praying for, okay? And you be thankful with Jupiter on your ascendant that you have your health. Be optimistic that you will overcome some of the challenges, that you are strong enough, capable enough, and wise enough, and share that optimism that, life gets difficult, but you make lemonade with other people. Your perspective is going to make a huge difference in how this transit is going to go for the next couple of months. I'd love to hear feedback, especially over the next couple of months, and how this manifests for you, but be thankful that you have got things to worry about, because it means that you have some kind of purpose here and that you are needed. So it's all about your perspective. Obviously, Jupiter hitting the first house, it's about your identity. So that Sun-Jupiter conjunction is going to be about believing in yourself, valuing yourself. The Sun rules the second house of finances and self-esteem, while Jupiter rules the sixth house of work and health. So when they meet on your ascendant, okay, sure, textbook astrology, you're going to have a glow up, right? More confidence, more personal growth, you're shining, you're attracting opportunities, sure. But also there's a lot of I'm believing in myself, I'm investing in myself, and in doing so, it's going to help me overcome some of the challenges where I'm feeling bogged down. Working out, taking care of yourself, praying, being optimistic, having a spiritual practice, something is going to be about filling your cup so you can kind of overcome some of the challenges in like the work or responsibility department. So I predict for you guys, a bold new look or move will boost your self-esteem. Work or health routines will improve. And I think some of you guys might update your style, start a wellness plan, or share your talents publicly with other people. And I'm very, very optimistic that a lot of these transits are actually going to be quite positive for you guys. So let me know what happens. All right, we've got Leo and Leo rising. You guys are going to do the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in your natal 12th house. Obviously, not as obvious, but definitely very, very, very beneficial for you guys because you're ruled by the sun. So you're meeting with Jupiter. So what does this mean? Well, the 12th house is the house of spirituality. It's about reflection, foreign lands, spiritual places, healing centers, and being by yourself. It's your subconscious. Obviously, you are the sun, and the sun is going to be in the 12th house. So are you resting? Are you going to a retreat? Are you traveling? Are you, doing periods of meditation and reflection? And Jupiter rules the 5th house of creativity, romance, but also children, self-expression. So you might be creating behind the scenes. You might be having something significant shifting, revolving around children or a romantic relationship. What to expect with this transit, I would say this is all about spiritual insights and emotional healing that kind of comes up for you. And really creative dreams feel very expansive and your intuition might just be like bang on. I predict for you guys that meditation or therapy is going to unlock some kind of hidden potential for you guys with this transit. And a private passion project might really take off. To enhance your luck with this transit, I would recommend journaling your dreams, meditating, or creating art in solitude to really channel your inspiration and tap into your inner talent and capability. Make an ancestral altar, right? Literally Cancer in the 12th house. Maybe this means that you go to a spa and you need to relax and like soak and meditate and like renew. Maybe it means that there is something major, some creative project that's like being seeded or new romantic relationship opportunity that's being seeded. But it will be something that you guys are going to find, when it's quiet and when you're alone and you're kind of like behind the scenes. Yes, some of you guys might go to a retreat or a healing studio where you work with a healer or a therapist. That's another way that this can manifest for you. Good luck. We've got Virgo and Virgo rising. You guys are going to be doing the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in your natal 11th house of the sign Cancer. Now, the 11th house is obviously about friendships, goals, community. It's about parties, socializing. So this can be a really amazing time to start connecting with new people and meeting others or hanging out with friends that feel like family. Jupiter is directly kind of connected to both your 7th house of relationships as well as your 4th house of home and family or the past. And the sun rules your 12th house. So with the Sun-Jupiter conjunction happening in the 11th, I see this as new connections or groups that kind of come about that bring you joy. It could be creative collaborations, family collaborations, stuff with friends. And also you're feeling more hopeful about your long-term goals. Now, I predict that you guys might notice that like a friend or community offers some kind of support. A friend might also be offering to play matchmaker. There could be family reunions, family gatherings, reconnections with friends, and home-related dreams that align with some of your goals. My advice to make the most of this transit is to network. Join a group or start a group or set a big picture goal with emotional intentions. Keep open-minded because you might meet people who can kind of help you, kind of come out of your shell because the sun is kind of connected to the 12th house. So if you've been feeling less than social or kind of isolated, you can meet people who make you feel like you're at home. This could also mean that you're meeting people who have interests in Cancer-related things, cooking, home design, hanging out with the family, barbecues, like that kind of stuff. And you might hear that there's some good news that's actually stemming from some of your friends, like buying houses, moving, having kids, getting married, that kind of stuff. And there will be celebrations that will come from this particular transit. So be where the people are. That's how you guys are going to enhance your growth. Good luck. All right, we've got Libra and Libra rising. What's up, Libra? The sun's going to conjunct Jupiter in Cancer in your natal 10th house of career and reputation in your public life. The sun is connected to the 11th house of community and anything revolving around friends, goals, or allies. And Jupiter is connected to your 3rd house of communication and anything revolving around short distance travel, teaching, learning, even siblings, or anything that's media related. So for my Libra risings, this is going to be bringing about a boost in your career or public recognition. Your voice shines in professional settings, especially if you work in education, traveling, anything revolving around teaching, of that kind. Especially Cancer could be like more emotionally. You're going to see that there's going to be expansion. I think with the Sun Jupiter conjunction, this can be a really good time for like making a big statement or for, putting out like some kind of like a promotion. So you're promoting something, maybe there's a project, maybe you get a promotion, maybe there's a public role that kind of expands your influence in some way. And having community support will really boost you up. It's going to kind of like elevate you. I would say, because you're a cardinal sign, this is 10 signs away from you. So it does kind of represent like your personal karma, revolving around communication and your career. In recent months, and all of the signs have had this, but in particular, Libra and Capricorn, you guys are going to have T-squares because you guys are the missing pieces of the cardinal pie. This is really putting your voice front and center. So if you need to give a presentation, if you need to launch something, if you need to propose a contract, if you're trying to kind of get your voice out, now's the time to do it. And I think to enhance your luck, I would pitch a big idea. I would update your resume, share your expertise online and like feel heard because you're going to get a lot of visibility now with this transit. Good luck, Libra. We've got Scorpio and Scorpio rising. You guys are going to be doing the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in the sign of Cancer. And you and Pisces are going to like this because especially if you're an early degree Scorpio rising, so 3, 4, 5 degrees, you'll be experiencing trines to your sun, moon, or rising placement. And the water trines are more emotional, sensitive, kind of empathic. The 9th house for you is going to be about expansion, travel, and your beliefs. So whether it's planning a trip, higher education, a legal matter, trying to publish something you're learning, maybe getting a certification of some kind, it's highlighting all of that. Now, the sun rules your career, while when it comes to Jupiter, it rules your 2nd house of money and resources or finances. So I'm expecting for a lot of Scorpio and Scorpio risings, opportunities to travel, opportunities to learn and expand, especially certifications or anything revolving around your career. If you're wanting to publish something, if you're wanting to teach something, there can be a lot of opportunities there. And career and finances really align with your vision, right? And that's going to be the 9th house. So I predict for you guys, because also the connection with the 5th house, a lot of this can be you guys being more optimistic about working for yourselves, doing something creative, your belief about family, your belief about children. So I would say to, in terms of predictions, a trip, that's being planned, a course maybe, a bold belief opens the door, and financial growth tied to professional expansion is definitely very likely. So if you can, enroll in a class, plan a trip, share your philosophy with confidence. And those of you guys who are wanting to teach, find a mentor, or get published, this is a good year to do it. We have Sag and Sag rising. What's up, Sag? You've got the Sun-Jupiter conjunction taking place in Cancer in your natal 8th house. Obviously, you're ruled by Jupiter. So having this happen in your 8th house is going to be a little bit more prominent for you. And the 8th house is all about transformation, shared resources, tax matters, maybe inheritance, anything revolving around joint assets. And your Jupiter, as is the 4th house of home and family, while the Sun rules the 9th house, which is connected to expansion. So you're going through big emotional changes, basically, with these transits in your 8th house. And this is about a deep emotional or financial transformation that you're going through this year. It's possible that your optimism really attracts a lot of support, and that could be emotional support, that could be a new therapist, that could be support financially, and this could be really about a deep emotional or financial transformation that can come through the form of like a loan, right, or inheritance or intimate bonds that bring some kind of growth for you. But regardless of what it is, your confidence is really going to be driving some kind of change. So I think to enhance your luck, this is about exploring therapy, investing wisely, or deepening trust in a close relationship. Those of you guys who are seeking to dip into savings to plan trips, or maybe you're looking at loans for homes, or maybe even for education, this is pretty positive. And some of the money that you receive from some kind of a joint asset is going to allow you to do some of these things. So watch for that in the next year. One other thing that I would say is because this is a sign that inconjuncts or quincunxes you, you guys might notice that you're just a lot more emotional than usual. And it kind of comes out of left field and you don't see it coming. Remember that when this Jupiter conjunction happens with the sun, the moon is in the 7th house of relationships. So likely you're going to find that it's some conversation or something that's changing with a partnership or something that's changing with a therapist or somebody who's close to you, maybe a conversation you have with a sibling that really makes you feel very vulnerable and like crack wide open. So be open to whatever that experience is with another person so that way you can have, more security and emotional depth. Good luck. You've got Capricorn and Capricorn rising. What's up, guys? You get the Sun-Jupiter conjunction happening in Cancer, your opposite sign, in your natal 7th house of relationships. Capricorn, the sun rules your 8th house, which is all about intimacy, change, transformation. And Jupiter rules your 12th house of spirituality. So when you see the Sun-Jupiter conjunction off the bat, this is good news for new potential relationships. So if you guys are in a relationship, one can improve. If you're looking to meet somebody, you can meet somebody. You will have Jupiter there all year. But I think that for existing relationships, it's about going deeper. And the depth is going to be because of the conjunction to the sun. Now, recently, you have had, obviously the sun and also Jupiter in a square to Saturn in your 4th house. So a lot of you guys have been going back and forth, like, do I want a new relationship or do I stick with the past? Do I, want to be focused more on my home and my life, or do I want to, join forces with another person? Sun Jupiter in the 7th can bring more clients. It can bring a new romantic relationship. It can bring a new therapist. It can bring a new astrologer, and a better relationship and kind of insight that you're getting from your family. So it can manifest a multitude of different ways. I think that this is, in terms of what to expect, relationships will bloom with optimism, and it's going to be about change and vulnerability. It's also going to be about a partner bringing emotional or spiritual growth and like giving you insight about things you didn't know. I predict that a romantic or a business partnership can deepen, and you can have shared resources or insight that can really expand your world. Try to be optimistic here because, with Saturn and Neptune being in the 4th house, you can feel like you're getting stuck in a home matter, a family matter, or quite literally you feel like you're bound by a certain place, and there is like longing for togetherness, support, or a relationship. And likely you will find that somebody will come in throughout this year, if you are single, that can really get you out of your comfort zone and also get you out of the house. So collaborate with other people and practice active listening because Jupiter is connected to your 3rd. And also, set new relationship goals. If you're wanting to meet somebody, this is the time to set some of those goals in action. And if you're in a relationship, there's going to be more conversations revolving around where you've been versus where you're going, literally or figuratively. Okay? So watch for that. Good luck, Capricorn. We've got Aquarius and Aquarius rising. You guys are going to be experiencing the Sun-Jupiter conjunction taking place in your natal 6th house of health, work, habits, and pets. Routines as well. Now, the sun rules your 7th house of relationships and others, and Jupiter rules your 11th house of friends and community. So as Jupiter and the sun come into conjunction in the 6th house, really what it's kind of highlighting is improvement in your work or wellness routines. Perhaps partnerships boost your productivity. Perhaps you're working out with friends. Maybe you're going to get a job with somebody that you've known for a while. Maybe you're just kind of getting everything in order when it comes to your schedule. And if you're in need of assistance, you'll have someone to help you physically or emotionally. And that could be a partnership. That could be a kid, Leo. That could also kind of represent like the best healthcare provider, the perfect kind of therapist, whatever it is that you need to help you physically or emotionally, somebody's going to kind of come through. What I would say about this transit is that it does inconjunct or quincunx you, in particular Pluto in your sign. So that means if you're going through a personal crisis and feeling like there's something you can't handle, a health problem, an emotional issue, maybe issues at work, this could be a transit where you're like, I find the perfect employee, I find the perfect assistant, maybe I found the perfect person to come in and kind of help manage my business or like whatever, to kind of help you manage some of the changes that are taking place. So watch for an opportunity for a new job, maybe a health plan, a team project that kind of has some success, and friendships that will come in that will help inspire your goals. To best enhance your luck, I really recommend organizing your schedule, starting a fitness routine, or collaborating on a group project to see the most success. Good luck. And for Pisces and Pisces risings, you guys are going to experience the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in Cancer in your 5th house in a fellow sister water sign. So for you, Pisces, this is important not only because it's your chart ruler, but it also trines your ascendant sun or moon, especially if you're like an early degree Pisces, 3, 4, 5 degrees. The 5th house is creativity and it's joy. So hobbies that you love, maybe it could mean that there's a new potential side hustle or business that you're going to be launching. It could also mean that you're really focusing on performing, creating, or being on stage. Obviously, the 5th house is about dating. It's also about children. Well, the sun represents, taking care of something. It also can represent work or, service. Jupiter represents your 10th house of career. And this could mean your status or your recognition or even things revolving around parenting. So when we throw it all together in the 5th house, for sure, you're going to see that there's going to be a burst of creativity, more opportunity for romance as well as joy. And you'll feel like work and career are aligning with your passions as a result of this conjunction, and it'll play out all year. I predict for you guys that a creative project or a business can really flourish. It's also possible that romance strikes and your public role reflects your heart's desires. For those of you guys who are hoping to really improve on relationships or even on your health, in particular, if you're trying to kind of conceive or have a child or get pregnant, this can be the time that you're really focused on that. So there could be something that's kind of coming your way. Obviously, your Jupiter and the moon represents things that you love. So something that you're going to be loving, nurturing, or taking care of is coming into your life with this transit between the Sun-Jupiter conjunction and the new moon in Cancer. Give it about 6 months to fully unfold, but you guys will see the story kind of play out. And I think that to enhance your luck, I would create art. I would focus on having fun. I would flirt. I would infuse work with playful, kind of heartfelt energy, really tap into that inner child. I know maybe it's been difficult because Jupiter has been in a square to Saturn and also your other planetary ruler, Neptune. So there's been a lot of, I want to do these things, but do I have the funds to do it? Am I confident enough to do it? Do I believe that it's possible? Can I really, make the necessary sacrifices physically or financially? And I would say if you're doing everything from the heart space, you're going to find that you're going to be the most creatively fulfilled. So you still have to track and budget, but still there is a need to really explore and have fun with this transit. So make time for that. I think the Sun-Jupiter conjunction says, good luck, Pisces. Obviously, this is a really interesting week, so I'm hoping all of you guys have like the goodness that comes from the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. I hope it blesses you. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say, in terms of your feedback. I'd love to hear like what sparkly little moments happen for you. Trust your intuition and embrace abundance. Be very open to that. Vocalize it, write it down. And don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more of my astrological guidance. Click the links below if you guys want to check out my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. Don't forget to meet me here on Friday. I'll post the link in the community tab early, so if you guys want to get a tarot reading, you can. And I will be following up with more videos in this next week, so stay tuned for that. If you guys haven't already seen the July horoscopes, check them out. They are live, and I talk about all the transits next month. And until next time, I'll see all of you guys very soon. Enjoy your week. Take care.